All right, Nick, let's talk about the Michigan Wolverines, a team that is off to a hot 2-0 start. Everything seems to be going their way, even in the absence of Coach Jim Harbaugh. Doesn't seem to matter too much to this team. But there's one guy, Nick, one former NFL executive, talking about one player in particular on this Michigan team, saying that he's doing things he's never seen done before, even in the NFL.
Yeah, Miles, what we're seeing out of Michigan right now as we get ready deeper into the schedule, I think it's a great sign going forward, especially the report that you dug up, which leads me directly into my question today for Michigan Wolverines fans to answer in the comment section below. What's the one surprise you've seen from this football team so far? It could be a good surprise, probably is a good surprise at this point, but it can be a negative too. So what's one thing that's happened in the first two games that really caught you by surprise? Maybe one player stepping out, doing much better than you thought he did. Maybe the way this team responded to Harbaugh. Whatever it is, in the comment section below, give us the most surprising element of this Michigan Wolverines team right now in the comment section below. All right, Miles, what you got? What's the latest news out of Ann Arbor?
Yeah, Nick, Michigan is off to a hot start, and the player we are talking about is none other than second-year quarterback JJ McCarthy. He is lighting things up, a hot start to the season. 48 of 55, 558 yards, 5 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. A truly incredible stat line for the young quarterback, Nick. But I think this guy, he's really doing some things that people haven't seen in a long time. And he's off to almost a cataclysmic start, Nick. Is something that is world-ending, just how good this guy is. And it's cataclysmic for the other teams, so to speak, because this guy has been off the charts accuracy-wise. And let's get into the article, and we'll talk about it on the other side a little bit, just talking about how good McCarthy was. This is from Wolverine Digest. It says, his performance has been so impressive that former NFL head coach Dan Wanstead said he had quarterbacks in the NFL that couldn't do what McCarthy is doing right now. JJ McCarthy, it's really ridiculous, said Wanstead. I mean, the guy, 85% completion rate so far. I mean, how do you do that? I had a quarterbacks in the NFL, and we couldn't do that against air with no defense. This guy is off to a great start, and they're doing a great job of coaching him. Meeting with the media, Nick, Coach Harbaugh even commented on the quick start by McCarthy as well, just saying the passing game is just lights out, said Coach Harbaugh. JJ McCarthy, phenomenal game. The accuracy is off the charts. He's so locked in. The enemy in practice, he's seeing everything. I mean, it really slowed down for him. He is making pro-level throws from the pocket. So, Nick, JJ McCarthy seems to be off of a hot start. People, former NFL coaches, former NFL execs have noticed. Harbaugh has noticed. Is there anything that's stopping this guy, Nick? What is going on with JJ McCarthy, and how is this going to affect this team going forward?
It's not that his numbers are just off the charts in terms of his completion percentage and overall efficiency, is that he's doing it with higher volume. Like anyone who knows football knows that the more volume you throw behind a passer, the efficiency generally drops. Whether it's yards per passing attempt, completion percentage, whatever it may be, it makes sense, right? If you throw the ball 10, 12 times a game versus if you throw it 30 times a game, if you have 1 or 2 big plays mixed into that 10 or 12 attempt game, your efficiency is going to look great. The more you throw, it'll eventually water it down. That's what happens in the pro game, college game, heck, even at the high school game. The more volume you throw on a quarterback, generally the efficiency drops somewhat. That's not what's happening with JJ McCarthy, which is a phenomenal sign that he's gotten even better in 2023 than he was in 2022. So I was pulling up these stats. His first three games combined last year, again, starting off the season, he had a very high completion percentage the first 3 games as well. He threw 34 attempts across the first 3 games he appeared in last season combined, JJ McCarthy did. In his very first game this season, of course, against East Carolina, he threw 30 attempts. Second game against UNLV, he threw 25 attempts. So again, he is essentially in one game equaling the amount of volume he had last year at this point of the season when he had an incredibly high efficiency in 3. What does that mean? It means he's a whole lot better. Number one, he's a lot more accurate, a lot more efficient. Because if you go back later into the season last year when he was throwing the ball more 30 times a game, his completion percentage dropped into the 60s and 70s and sometimes even into the 50s. The fact that he's matching that same late season volume right now with this incredibly high completion percentage shows the growth he had from last year to this year. But number two, I think it also shows how much faith and confidence they have in McCarthy to be the guy, because we know it and we talk about it all the time in major college football. It's so much like the NFL game these days. In order to win national titles and to compete for national titles, which Michigan is obviously trying to do, you've got to be great at the quarterback position, and your quarterback has to be willing and able to take over the games consistently, especially in those big matchups. Last year, McCarthy was really good, but I don't think anyone really thought of him as the number one guy on this team. He was sort of the X factor who could be clutch in moments when need be. This was a running football team with some big plays with McCarthy behind center. I think we're seeing a little bit of transition. They're no longer running only, running 1, McCarthy 2. They're not, running 1A, McCarthy 1B. This is JJ McCarthy's offense. This is JJ McCarthy's football team. And if he continues this level of production and efficiency, which I think he will somewhat, this Michigan team will be a whole lot better for it. Because as we all know, when you get to the college football playoff and those kind of big games, defenses kind of go out the window a little bit. We saw it against Ohio State and Georgia. We, of course, saw that against Michigan, TCU. You've got to be part of an offense and a quarterback that can throw up a lot of points all 4 quarters, be super efficient doing so. That's what we're seeing from JJ McCarthy right now. I think it will continue throughout the rest of the regular season. And I think the Wolverines will become a much more viable national title contender because of it.
Yeah, Nick, and this season is really just setting up perfectly for Michigan and JJ McCarthy. Relatively easy first half of the schedule. When things start to heat up right at the end, Michigan State, Penn State, Ohio State, in those last 6 or so games, all of them mixed in there. So JJ McCarthy has plenty of time to keep this consistency up, get this chemistry working, and coming into these last few games just as hot as he started. I think this is a really great schedule for Michigan and McCarthy to come in and absolutely light the world on fire these last few games of the season against the truly tough opponents on this schedule. And I think things are looking really, really good for Michigan.